respected Dean, Schools for Postgraduate Studies, and most respected Dean, Community Science, and Professor and Heads, External Examiner Dr. S. Hemalata Madam, Dr. Uma Kulkarni Madam, Professor and Head, UAS Dharwad, Professors, and my dear students, good afternoon to all. So I would like to welcome Dean for School of Postgraduate Studies and Dean Community Science for providing permission to conduct this guest lecture and also providing continuous support for organizing this guest lecture. So on behalf of CSNRI Madurai, I am very happy to welcome our external examiner Madam Dr. S. Hemalata, Professor and Head, Department of Food Processing and Technology, Community Science, College of Community Science, UAS Dharwad, and Dr. Uma Kulkarni, Professor and Head, Department of FSL, College of Community Science, UAS Dharwad. So for coming to attend the Viva OC for the students and also for providing the guest lecture, I would like to welcome Dr. S. Hemalata Madam for accepting our invitation to provide guest lecture. Next, I would like to welcome all the professor and heads, PG coordinator and UG coordinators and professor and associate professor and assistant professor and non-teaching staff member and my dear students, UG and PG and PhDs. So thank you for your presence. Now I invite Dr. P. Parimala Madam, Professor, Department of Food Science, to introduce the speaker of this guest lecture.
So good afternoon to all those who have gathered here after the lunch session, and I'm happy to introduce the speaker of today's session, Dr. S. Hemalata, Professor and Head, Department of Food Processing and Technology, College of Community Science, Dharwad. So Madam has completed her BSc Home Science from University of Agricultural Sciences and her Masters in Food and Nutrition from the same university, and has completed her PhD from CFTR, Essential Food Technological Research Institute, Mysore, during the year 2007. And she has joined her regular position as assistant professor in the year 1997 and assumed the professorship during 2013. So Madam has completed around 10 MSc, MTech and PhD as a major advisor, and currently she is guiding 5 students as a chairman, and she has also visited universities like Cornell University, Ithaca, USA, and University of Iowa as a part of her professional career. And Madam is a recipient of several awards from her post-graduation level to this level, the latest being the Incentive Award for bringing research grants to the university. So she has received an International Fellowship for Young Biomedical Scientists by the Indian Council of Medical Research, Government of India, New Delhi during 2009 and 10. And to her credit, she has received several other awards and honors also. And her current area of work is on bioavailability of micronutrients with special emphasis on zinc and iron in food grains, especially the millets and green leafy vegetables. And what are the factors that influence micronutrient bioavailability? And Madam has worked exhaustively on millets, different types of millets, which is very evident from her publications in several peer-reviewed journals. So due to paucity of time, I am not reading out all the publications, but Madam has got a very good credentials in publications, and she has been a part of the variety release committee like sorghum varieties AKJ1, SMJ1 and RSJ1, and has also developed several technologies related to the millets. And moving on to her proceedings and conference papers, it goes in hundreds. That is, she has participated and published more than 100 in conferences, abstracts, and presentations. And the details of projects, she has been associated as a scientist in bringing the funding for the university to a tune of 396 lakhs from NEIP ICAR, and has also been associated with the SC/ST Farm Families Dharwad district. And Madam has worked on screening of sorghum land races for flaking and extrusion as principal investigator. And she has also worked on different color grain varieties of rabi sorghum, on human nutrition and health as a principal investigator, and how anemia can be combated through value-added microgreens. Madam has worked as a principal investigator, and above all, Madam has been involved in the establishment of common incubation facility as that we have in our own TNAU at this Madurai campus for processing of ODOP of the district Dharwad, and it is mainly focused on mango-based products along with fruits, vegetables and spices, dehydration line and soya nugget as processing line as principal investigator, and she has brought in grants of 236 lakhs, and there's also one more project which runs to 341 lakhs. Similarly, in the line of establishment of lime and dry land fruits and millet flakes processing incubation facility and training under PMFME scheme at KVK Indi Vijayapur as co-principal investigator. So with this, I just am happy to invite Dr. Hemlata Madam to enlighten the forum on bioavailability of iron from the plant foods.
Good afternoon, everybody. Hope you all are not sleepy to listen to this topic. Respected Dean Madam, all the Faculty of Food Science and Nutrition. I know only Hemlata Madam because I evaluated one of the students' thesis of Madam's. And then Dean Madam, too, since yesterday I'm there. And Maran Sir, for his patience, I appreciate his patience. Several times he has called me to fix up this date for the visit to Madurai. I thank all of them for giving me this opportunity and to share some of the works what we have done with our students at Dharwad, and also my works what I did for my PhD. So this topic initially was not so interesting to me. You know, minerals means usually in the FSN fraternity, micronutrients means we all are little not so keen in working on that. But somehow when I got the topic for my research at for doing at Safety RI, I was initially a little reluctant. I was always telling my mentor, "Sir, shall I change the topic to fruits and vegetables, something like that?" But once I started, I thought how serious the issue is. How many of us are suffering from this? This small, which is required in very, very little quantity. Many Indians are suffering. Not only Indians, many people across the world are suffering from iron deficiency. You'll just see that figures, you know, so many deaths are happening, morbidity, and then interrelated, so many things are happening because of deficiency of this particular micronutrient. So then that interest started, and I started working, and I started giving our students also with small research programs to see how best we can. This, it is not new that research on iron bioavailability is going on only recently. It is going on since more than 50, more than 100 years also. But still we are not able to find a solution for that, for especially the deficiency, and that too among people like here. I see most of the girls here, for girls as well as even for boys also nowadays we are seeing the iron deficiency problems. So we'll just see what work we have done, and that somewhere somebody may, it may interest you, and then continue. Okay, so we all know that iron basically it has got two major pools. One is the storage iron and the other one is the functional iron. Functional iron, it is required for your hemoglobin, it is required for your myoglobin, and then various enzymes like heme enzymes and non-heme enzymes. And storage, we all know that it is stored very little in the form of ferritin, hemosiderin. Hope all of you have learned these things in your biochemistry or in your nutrition courses, isn't it? Just it is just to brushing up and then linking you to that research. And then the major transport ion is the transferrin. That how is iron transport to all cells of your body is through this. Okay. Then you can just wonder the amount of iron that is present in our body. It is just 3.6 gram. And then in an adult woman, it is only 2.4 grams. Only so much. But still we are deficient in this. And then it is conserved in the body. 90% of it is again recovered and reused every day. I'll tell you how it is done. And 10% is only excreted. So this is what it is in our body. So now how this iron gets absorbed? Iron gets absorbed. Iron, we all know it is in two forms. We call it as heme iron and non-heme iron. Heme iron is through all your animal foods. So that is the source. And the non-heme iron is through the plant sources. Heme iron is absorbed directly through that carrier protein. Once you ingest it, then like your meat and other things, once you have ingested, it enters into our intestine, and there through this carrier protein and into the enterocytes, it will enter there. This heme iron is very easily absorbed. So those people with consuming non-vegetarian food or the animal foods, they are usually not so deficient of hemoglobin, but there are other sources which can make them anemic. Okay, the next one. Non-heme iron, non-heme is basically we have iron in two forms. One is in the ferric form and the other one is in the ferrous form. So this non-heme iron is in the inorganic form, that is Fe3 plus we call it. So that for absorption, it has to be converted to Fe2 plus and then it has to enter into the bloodstream. So for the conversion, you need one particular enzyme there, that is duodenal cytochrome B ferrireductase. That is the one which converts Fe3 plus to Fe2 plus, and then for after it is converted, then it is transported through this divalent metal transporter. That is the receptor. For any nutrient to get absorbed into the bloodstream, it requires either through some receptors. Okay, so for iron, this is the receptor DMT1, and then after it is entered, then it will join the other heme iron, that same pool what is there. From that pool, it will be taken up by into the bloodstream and it is transported through the transferrin. So this is a simple basic mechanism. How there are so many other things. This is to just brush up and to help you know how iron gets absorbed into the body. So if you know that, then you can design your foods. You can think of how best you can make it available in the body. So that's why this background. And then see, this is what it is. So in a nutshell, so the moment you take consume iron, whether it is heme iron or non-heme iron, it enters into the system. If it is heme iron, I told you that pathway, and if it is non-heme, then it gets converted to the ferric to Fe2 plus, and then enters into the pole. And then I told you 90% of it is reused and recycled, isn't it? So we all know that red blood cells have got only the 120 days life cycle. So what happens to that after that? So that is broken down by the macrophages, and then through phagocytosis, this iron is again circulated into the body. And then the minimum little amount, 10%, I said it is losses either through through blood loss or through sometimes sweat, like that it will lose. And then uses, we all know that for every single cell we require these things. So either through liver, for heart and all these things, for all the organs, we require the iron. And then it is also stored, I told you, in the form of ferritin. So now coming to the deficiency is the most prevalent among the micronutrients. Iodine, we have 4 major nutrient deficiencies, isn't it? So which are those? At least nutrition, I don't know from which streams all the students are. What are the major nutritional problems India is facing? Iron deficiency. That is iron deficiency, anemia. Then
Public health problems. Which are the public health problems? Yeah.
iodine. Then vitamin A, vitamin A, and then presently, and then that is one thing. Recently, zinc is also added to that. So majority are facing, and then again, very recently, not very recently, few years back, vitamin D deficiency is another one which is causing several health problems. And if I wonder, vitamin D in India, why they are facing, isn't it? We have a lot of sunshine, isn't it? But still, many people are suffering from vitamin D deficiency. There are so many factors for that. Let us bring back all this thing to iron. So, iron deficiency worldwide, it is 30% of the world's population. What's the world's population? What is India's population? We have surpassed China, isn't it? Recently, we have become number one in population, isn't it? So 30% of the world's population today is suffering from anemia, iron deficiency anemia. Among that, 29% are non-pregnant, then 38% are pregnant, and 43% are children. Okay, so you can imagine, and then iron deficiency, there is profound impact on the economic status. How economic status? Because you all know, if you have become anemic means you will become sluggish. You will not feel like doing anything. Imagine if that much population, 29% non-pregnant, that many women, if they are not able to work, whether it is at home or whether it is in the field or whether it is in the office or whatever. So, what happens? The work turnover is less. And then there is lot of what you call the, by the government, they have to take care of that, isn't it? The sick population, the health, the cost of looking after this will increase. So that's how we have the more of economic burden on the country. So that is why the health of the nation becomes very important, and for one of the health problems is deficiency of iron. So why this deficiency is there? So because of the diet what we consume. That is a major source. For any nutrient, it is the food, isn't it? That is the source of all the nutrients. What you are today, how you are, whatever it is. So that is because of the food intake. Low iron food intake is one of the reasons for the deficiency of anemia. There are other reasons also, but the major reason is the low iron intake, and that too which are less bioavailable. So why this less bioavailable, we'll see. Then plant-based foods. So plant-based foods are one of the reasons, and majority of the Indians, though we say that in many pockets there are non-vegetarians, but the consumption is not every day, isn't it? So if you are a non-vegetarian, then in a week once or twice or something, that much only, because the animal foods are expensive, and then we don't consume that as much as the plant foods. Every day we have plant foods, isn't it? Only once or twice in a week we may have non-vegetarian food. So majority of the Indians, though they may be non-vegetarians, but the consumption level is lesser. So it is a plant-based foods that we consume to a greater extent. So the amount of iron in vegetables, fruits, cereals, legumes, it ranges with that. See, 0.3 to 13, then 0.2 to 8, depending on the categories. So we'll just see one by one what is the status. So this is a recommendation, very recent recommendation by the ICMR. So it says that if a man is of 65 kg body weight, the iron requirement is 11 mg per day, and for women it is 15, and it goes on. Like there is variation in pregnant and lactating, and then for children also you can see the variation 6 to 18. Boys and girls of 16 to 18 require more compared to the other categories. Okay, so they require 18 mg. Earlier it was still more, but today again based on several other calculations, this is the requirement what the ICMR says. That means for us to be healthy, this much of iron is required. Are we getting this much? Are we getting? No, that is why we are all deficient in iron. So, just in a nutshell, what about iron is, it participates in oxygen transport, for enzyme production and activity, and for protein synthesis. As I told you, they exist in two forms, heme form and non-heme ion. And then the factors that are responsible, this I'll cover, and then how we can do that. Next, I'll just tell one by one. So now, I told you, basically we consume more of cereals and pulses. If you take in a meal, to everyday meal, it is the cereals and pulses which occupy the major portion, isn't it? At least in South India, it is mainly cereal and pulse based. Vegetables and fruits occupy lesser, isn't it? We talk about balanced diet or the what is that plate, isn't it? So in that we say that major part should be fruits and vegetables, and then some portion of iron, and then some pulses. So when we look at the figures in this you just concentrate only on iron. This table I had both for iron as well as zinc. You can concentrate only on iron. If you just see the iron content in cereals, it ranges. Least is in rice and maximum is in sorghum, isn't it? So it is that too, that is only 1.32. How much iron do we require? An adult, most of us belong to adult women category, isn't it? So how much is that we require? 15. So you see how much rice we have to eat to get that. And that too, and next is what is called bioavailability. So bioavailability means the portion of that particular nutrient, how much is got into the, how much it enters into the bloodstream. So that is called bioavailability. That means that nutrient is there. For example, in rice, 1.3 is the iron content, but not everything is available. It enters into the system. There are several factors for that. It will not enter into the bloodstream. So that portion which enters into the bloodstream, that we call it as bioavailability. And there are several methods of testing it. Bioaccessible is we just, because it is an in vitro method where we do it in the lab and see how much it is available. So that is called, and that portion that we call it as bioaccessibility. That much is accessible for absorption. So we did that simulation studies, and then we found that in rice it is maximum, that to 8%. 1.3 is 8%, means you can imagine how little iron we are getting. Okay, so when we just screened for all the cereals and pulses, we found that rice only has got maximum, that too, maximum means only 8%. 1.38%, and then pulses are comparatively, they have higher content in it, and then but the absorption is only, again it ranges from almost 1.77 to 10%. That's all. So this is the food what we consume every day, isn't it? We consume majorly cereals and pulses, and that too they are all falling within 10%. So that is why we see lot of iron deficiency anemia. Got what I'm telling? So this is one of our findings which was done earlier. And then what are the reasons we thought why this iron bioavailability in plant foods is not being is so low? So we just analyzed the other factors, inhibitors we call them. So what are the things which can inhibit the absorption of iron? So we found that zinc, zinc is another nutrient which is a micronutrient which is also required for several functions in the body. That itself is competing with the absorption of the iron. So when we did the regression analysis in cereals also and in pulses also, it was the zinc content that was antagonistic for the absorption of iron. And then the other factors that are responsible were calcium, because calcium combines with the phytic acid and makes many minerals not available to the body. And then phytic acid, and then soluble fiber, and then insoluble dietary fiber, and then you have the tannins. These we saw how they are related. So what is the major factor that is influencing the absorption of this particular nutrient, iron? And we found that it is the zinc, one thing, and then the others like the phytic acid, soluble in dietary fiber and insoluble dietary fiber, and tannins. These are some of the major factors. Then when we just Then we also saw that considering all these things, they have an algorithm developed which says that without doing the experiment, only if you just estimate these contents like these, all these zinc, calcium, phytic acid, then fiber, and then tannins, if you just know the content of these things, and then can we predict what is the availability, how much it can absorb the food. So there's an algorithm developed by one of my mentors, Dr. Manju Reddy. She is a professor in the US. So they have developed one algorithm. So what we thought, let us see how it will come in case of sorghum, which is one of the major cereals consumed in the part where I live, that is Karnataka, North Karnataka, where every day people consume jawar, we call jawar or sorghum, that roti, they consume that. So that I think in Tamil Nadu also jawar is there. No, yes, sorghum is there. So we screened several varieties of sorghum and tried to see whether we can just predict that by using that algorithm, and then using all those factors, the major inhibitors. So all that we took it, and the enhancers are also there, I'll tell you. So looking into all those factors, because in cereals we don't have vitamin C, much of vitamin C. So that is why we, considering all those things, we tried to see what is the absorption ratio, and we found that only first 3 or 4 there is little better compared to the others in sorghum. Okay, so this is also one of the studies what we did. We tried to screen these many varieties by knowing the factors which can inhibit the iron absorption and see how you can improvise that. And then, see, this is, and we also try to see whether color has got any influence or whether it has got a relation for iron absorption. So the iron content, you see, the red is red sorghums. Red colored grains are red in color. That particular color, that is the color of the grain. So you can see the iron content also. There is variation in the colors also, and calcium also, as well as zinc. That means depending on the color also, the content of these things are there. And then after screening all these things, we found that only few picture. There are processing methods. Normally, sorghum is consumed in different forms. Like how you have popcorns, like that they pop sorghum, and then they remove the husk and they make rice, and they make jawar roti, and then they also make dumpling of that. Okay, those are the traditional. The pictures were there. Somehow I don't know. It is missing. It's okay. Those are the forms in which sorghum is consumed. So we wanted to know whether these processing methods have got an effect on because that is how you eat. You don't eat the grains, isn't it? You don't eat the flour. You cook it and then in one form or the other and consume. So some of the traditional methods we saw and found that the percent availability again was less than 10% in whatever form you do it. But among the few things, it was the popping. When you pop it, the bioavailability was comparatively better. It is, I don't say it is high, it is just 5.7%, but in that also little variation. Popping is better compared to either eating it in just like a cooked form, or in the form of dumpling, or in the form of roti. So this indicates that processing there is a difference, but not a major extent. That means still cereals are, even though they have higher content, sorghum especially has got better iron content, it is still less than and those are the factors I told you, phytic acid, tannins, all these things. Okay, then we also saw that by processing, household level, we do several processing, isn't it? Like fermentation, like your idli, dosa, all these things, and then we do germination. We make sprout the grains and then consume it, either in the form of this one, or we just several grains we add, like in dokla, 3-4 grains they add. That is also a fermented product. And then we soak the grains also, like chickpeas and all, before cooking we soak them and then see what will happen to that. So that process also was seen, and then in that also we found that germination will reduce the content of these anti-nutrients. Anti-nutrients here means iron absorption inhibitors, like the phytic acid, tannins, all these things are reduced, and then it can enhance the bioavailability. Some processes which are very, very common in most of the Indian households, whether it is from Kashmir till Kanyakumari or from east to west, it is these processes are followed, and that the fermentation process, germination process, soaking of all these grains. These are simple household techniques which can enhance the micronutrients. To what extent? It is like almost double or triple fold. If it is 5% absorption, it can double or triple, 10% or 15%. So these simple processes, that means to consume idli and dosa is better or not good? Hmm? Is it good or bad? Good, because it will increase, it will subside the anti-nutritional factors for iron absorption, and then you can enhance your iron availability. That is one of the studies. Then another study is like what we thought nowadays, fortification is one of the major things that many of the what you call developed countries do. You go there, then the flour is fortified, the milk is fortified, iron is fortified. Like this, they add because they are deficient. So they put all those things in the form of different salts. And then we wanted to see when you add that, really how much is going to increase the bioavailability. And we found that by adding exogenous iron in the form of ferrous sulfate, calcium, protein is also one of the factors that will influence the absorption. And we don't eat food without adding common salt, isn't it? So we just wanted to see if we add common salt also, what will happen. So we found that by adding all these things to the level of fortification, it did not much improve much. The result, it showed negative effect when the iron and zinc ratio was nearly 1.8, and then sodium chloride, it increased because it will precipitate the protein. And then this one, soy protein, again, soy protein alone did not have the positive effect. So that is what one of this study was about. And then the other was because all these grains we consume after processing it, especially heat processing. Either we pressure cook that or microwave it or something like that we do, and then consume. So when we subject it to heat processing, interestingly, the pressure cooking, it improved the bioaccessibility of iron, but not of zinc. And then our observation, like the pulses were better compared to cereals. That pressure cooking, it improved the iron availability. So this was also one of the studies. And then another study was, I just wanted to see this work. We saw if you encapsulate that iron, fortification of iron is again a problem. You must have all read the double fortified salt which the NIN brought out. It was not a success, but iodized salt is a success. Double fortified salt, for several reasons, for absorption and then the smell, the color of all these things, it was not a success. So we just thought, because iron, it gives that particular, if you have all become anemic, they give you these iron tablets. So it will be so smelly, and your stools also smell and then dark and all these things. So we thought, and then one of the absorption enhancers is vitamin C. So we thought that if we encapsulate both and see what will happen to the absorption, that didn't do much of. We got good absorption. That is, we just tried with this one composite malt that is usually given to children, isn't it? Malt, the finger millet malt. So that composite malt, we took that, and then we added encapsulated iron. Along with that, we added ascorbic acid, and we saw that cell culture studies were done, and we found that nearly 66% was that much. That was the iron absorption. And then you can see the rest of the things. Only iron, directly adding iron to the malt, and then the lactic acid, because organic acid, one more study we had, lactic acid, all these things, so they didn't improve much. But when we encapsulated iron along with this one, what is that? Ascorbic acid, we found that that is better compared to the just plain malt alone or just adding directly iron. But it was much better when it was encapsulated, because during processing, again this malt you cook it, so that time it may not be removed from it from the matrix. So that's the reason why we encapsulated. So this is one of the methods where you can see that by encapsulating iron along with ascorbic acid, which is an enhancer, the availability it can be enhanced. And then recently, this is what you call the trend or the fashion or what you call in the food. Okay, in the food system, the eating these microgreens has become. You can see in airports and all. Even in Bangalore airport, there is one corner where they make fresh salad and give, telling that it is a superfood and very healthy and all these things. So we thought, why not see? Because at this stage, we all know that one of the good sources, you all have learnt, one of the good sources for iron is green leafy vegetables. Okay, green leafy vegetables, you all, even your mothers, everybody will tell you all at home that eat lot of green leafy vegetables. It is good for your iron and all these things. So we wanted to see at what stage the iron can be made available better. So this microgreens means those greens, only 2 true leaves will have emerged. You can see here, isn't it? Okay. And then this is mouse. No, previous. You can see just 2 leaves have come, true leaves. The other one is not that one. Only 2 leaves have come. Coriander, you can see, only 2 leaves. Spinach, you can see, only 2 leaves. Fenugreek, 2 leaves. First 2 leaves when they emerge. So those are called microgreens. As soon as you have put the seed and when the plant comes out, only 2 leaves, first 2 true leaves we call, that stage is called the microgreen stage. So we wanted to see whether that really has got high iron content, what is the bioavailability. And interestingly, see, we found that vitamin C was more compared to mature leaves. Mature leaves means here we mean the market harvest stage, what you get in the market, that stage. So when you see in all this what we selected, the greens, it was in the microgreen stage, the vitamin C content was more, the iron content was more, and calcium content was less. So what we infer from this? The enhancer is more, inhibitors are less, isn't it? So that means at that particular stage, we have high iron, high vitamin C, less of calcium. Calcium, I told you, it inhibits, isn't it? So this is what our study showed. And then, interestingly, all these are all inhibitors of iron absorption. Oxalic acid, phytic acid, dietary fiber, they don't allow the iron to get absorbed. So those were also less in the microgreen stage compared to the mature stage. So that indicates, what does this study indicate? You should eat those greens when they are in this stage, microgreen stage, to harness all the benefits. And then to get better iron absorption, we need to eat the grains. And then I was also told recently by one of the Ayurvedic practitioner. He is a very old person, almost 80 years old. I was just discussing with him about this. Then he said in Ayurveda, they say that the greens, when you just in 2 hands, if you just press it, it should almost disintegrate like. That is the stage when you should consume to get better benefits of the green leafy vegetables. Interestingly, microgreens are of that stage. Mature greens means it will not disintegrate so fast, isn't it? Microgreens are so tender, tiny, and then you just when you put it between the 2 fingers, you can easily crush it and it will almost disintegrate. So this study proves that, isn't it? So this is all done by one of my students. And then we also saw that when you just today all youngsters want foods which are like pasta, pizza and all these things. So we thought, why not fortify? Food fortification is another new term that is coming up. So this we are doing that, but it is a new, what you call, old wine in a new bottle, like that. So this food fortification. So we thought, why not add this microgreen to the pasta, that to millet pasta, that is by Barnyard. And we see that the pasta was this pasta, among the greens, amaranth had a better, higher iron and then lower inhibitors. So we chose amaranth. Amaranth, I don't know what you call that in Rajgir. In Tamil, I don't know what they say. Rajagiri. Okay. So that is the green. And that for that, while making pasta, we added that extract from the tamarind and saw that it increased the total iron content and the bioavailability also was higher, like, nearly 70% of it. So that is the, we just wanted to see how we can use this microgreen. Microgreen are very highly perishable. Green leafy vegetables are perishable. And that too at that stage when the moisture content is high, it is very fast, it will spoil. So we wanted to make use of that and see whether we can enhance the availability. And we found that in pasta, you can successfully use that. So then another thing is like one more student, we just saw in green leafy vegetables, which are short duration crops, but we have perennial crops, which tamarind is one which is used throughout almost in South Indian homes. And then we wanted to see whether those leaves, tender leaves, are used in cooking, isn't it? You put it are used. So there also whether this trend holds good or not, we wanted to see in the tree species. So here in tamarind again we saw that we made into different consumable forms like chutney and then dal and other things. But unlike the microgreens, what the green leafy vegetables, this green leafy vegetable with from the tree species, we didn't find that trend. It was again a low. It was not, we cannot tell that tamarind leaf at a tender stage will give you a better iron availability. No. So here this concept again, it doesn't hold. Okay. So finally, what I want to conclude is the micronutrient bioavailability. So organic acids like your ascorbic acid and then malic acid, they will enhance the bioavailability. Then some of the animal products that is also there. That is called the meat factor. When you add to the vegetarian food some amount of meat into it, that is the heme part of it, it can enhance the bioavailability. I have just clubbed all the studies which what you say, my guide and his students and my students, everybody combined this outcome of the studies. And then beta carotene rich foods, they can enhance iron bioavailability. Heat processing, it will enhance the iron bioavailability. Germination enhances, malting enhances, sulfur compounds like the sulfur containing compounds like your onion, garlic, all these things can enhance iron bioavailability. Fermentation enhances bioavailability. And food acidulants, we use amchur, we use lime juice, so they can enhance bioavailability. And some of the spices like black pepper, red pepper, ginger, these can enhance the iron bioavailability. So this is in a nutshell of all the promoters of micronutrient bioavailability. And then inhibitors, insoluble dietary fiber, it inhibits. Then excess calcium inhibits, excess zinc inhibits, phytic acid inhibits. Then for zinc, it is heat processing, unlike iron, it will inhibit. So we are not talking about zinc, iron only we focus. Then polyphenols inhibit. So these are some of the outcomes from our my students, myself, as well as from my mentor. So this is in a nutshell what I wanted to convey, the works what we have done. So any questions, anything in this regard, you're most welcome. And then I thank the organizers for giving me an opportunity to share some of our research works, what we have done. And then thank you so much. I have just focused on whatever research, there are so many researches being done. I focused on what research we have carried out in our university as well as from my students and from my guides department. My guide is no more. I'm really indebted to him. He passed away recently, 1 year back, and a lot of learning from him. And the subject became interesting because of him.
It is very interesting, even though it is our post-lunch seminar. We didn't sleep, I think so. I hope that.
I don't know, something, I hope something, some takeaway is there from my talk.
What is your opinion, madam, whether vegetarian food enhances iron absorption or non-vegetarian food enhances iron absorption?
Definitely non-vegetarian enhances, madam. But the thing is, vegetarian foods carry so many other things other than the micronutrients. You can, that's what I keep saying. You can enhance your micronutrient availability from vegetarian food by certain processing like fermentation, germination, addition of, you all know that whenever any vegetable is being done, finally they would add squeeze lime, whether you do beans bhaji or cabbage or anything, at the end they used to squeeze the lime, isn't it? So ascorbic acid is one which can enhance. And apart from this iron, you have other health benefits from vegetarian foods. So that is why today the trend is on vegan foods. And then there are certain other things like tannins, immediately drinking tea after your meal and all these things, definitely it will inhibit. But tannins have other functions. So you can just see for iron, you can focus like this.
So processing definitely like fermentation will improve the iron.
Fermentation. Nil, madam, non-detectable levels fermentation. And germination, there is little, but not to the extent of fermentation. But again, that trend we didn't see in Dokla. Dokla all ferment because it is a combination of more of pulses and less of cereals. The phytic acid was not reduced like our idli and dosa.
What about the extrusion and baking process?
Their heat processing, no, madam. So heat processing, only few things, to slight extent there is improvement.
Regarding the iron requirements, there is a significant decrease in
Decrease.
terms of the previous RDA.
That is because of the one thing is change in these habits. It is a national data, no, madam. So there is actually they are all averages to see that population can meet out all these things. So some of the factors were, I think, not they were not taken into consideration. So earlier, so that's why maybe the requirements were. And again, soluble fiber enhances little than the insoluble fraction.
Regarding you have discussed on the different foods and different processing methods. Among the different iron certificates, can you tell which one have the maximum?
Maximum, madam, this ferrous sulfate, no, madam. Ferrous, you have other compounds.
Pyrophosphate.
That is better, madam. So ferrous sulfate gives a what you call the discoloration and that smell, which is not acceptable. So here, when I was doing that study, we used ferrous sulfate only. Lactate is ferrous, that is also one of them which is used. And then we try to encapsulate it. And then, like any other organic acids, lactic acid did favor. Only it is citric acid and then malic acid, which enhanced. Not tamarind also. Not even kokum. Kokum in the coastal part of the country, they use kokum as a souring agent, like how we use tamarind. The tamarind also didn't enhance the availability. Kokum also didn't enhance because they have more of polyphenols. So that's the reason why they didn't enhance. But citric acid and then malic acid, in fact, enhanced. But not lactic acid again. Probiotics also we saw, madam, because that will release some of the lactic acid. So that also didn't enhance iron bioavailability. They're all published, they published all these things. Good journals.
What about the anti-nutritional factors in microgreens?
That's what I showed, also. Microgreens, they have lesser anti-nutrients. Only when they are maturing, you have a higher concentration of this. And then iron content is higher in the microgreen stage. But when the greens go on maturing, the anti-nutrients also start with. Because phytic acid is nothing but storage form of phosphorus. So that will develop only later. So that is the this one. When they are sprouting, again those phytic acid is broken down. phosphorus is being made available for the plant to grow. So that's how you have lesser amount of these. And polyphenols also, it is a protection mechanism by the plants, or whether in the seeds or in the greens. So those things will happen only when the plant is growing naturally, or when the seed stage is coming. But at a younger stage, it is utilized for its physiological purposes. So that is why you see lesser amount in the microgreen stage. That I have not analyzed, madam. We have to check that. Our focus was only iron, so we did it. One of my other friends, she worked on beta carotene, and they found that it is my lab only. She was working, so they found that beta carotene in fact enhanced iron fidelity. In the microgreen stage, maybe I don't know, madam. I have to check for that. My area was focusing on iron and zinc beta carotene. Economical, yes, madam, definitely. Because the number of days it takes to grow that is very less. 7 to 21 days, depending on the type of microgreen. Only that much. Till much. Market harvest stage means again it will take nearly 45 days. So you are saving that much time, no, madam. You can get another crop by that time. So again another crop by that time. So it will be cheaper.
Is there any demand for microgreen?
It is now considered what you call, sir, for the food of the elite, eating salads and other things. But that has to be promoted. And then we are also trying to bring out, we have just started that work, sir, a beverage out of that, green, microgreen beverage.
Like grinding it.
And then with the addition of certain enhancers, and then in the form of drink. One of my students just started, sir. They have not yet brought out that technology. That will be easier for the youngsters, where they can just drink it and get better iron.
How microgreen is packed?
Small containers, sir, like this one. If you go to go to Bangalore airport, sir, you see there is one particular salad corner itself. You just have to tell them what you want. They will pluck it for you and then make a salad out of it and give. Basically, right now it is used in the form of salads with the different dressings. At home also you can have it, sir. You can have number of trays. Trays, and then you can just once after you have harvested, another tray will come. You can keep rotating the different types: spinach, fenugreek, coriander. So, and it will be interesting. For children also you can give it between the sandwich and all these things to make it interesting, and then more iron.
You cannot keep it, but it has to be harvested.
Harvested. Because again, it should be only 2 true leaves will come, madam, first. And if you harvest,
It's too small.
Waterless farming, I'm not getting that one.
Hydroponics.
Hydroponics. In hydroponics, they are growing this lots. Especially this Southeast Asian countries.
And the stem is also nutritious.
Yeah.
But here,
in microgreen, we don't want fiber, no, madam. For iron, we don't want fiber.
Generally, for anemic patients, we generally dates.
Dates.
What about the bioavailability of iron, dates, and with
I have not studied, madam. But if the content is more, at least if you take the percent less than 10 also, at least little more than cereals you will get it. If you know the iron content.
how long the iron stored in the body, ma'am?
See, iron, what you call that, madam?
storage.
No. Balance. Homeostasis. Okay, depending on that. Okay, if you are deficient, if your food is not supplying, then the stored iron is used. And then again the homeostasis it has to maintain. Okay, like that. If your food you are consuming is very less bioavailable, then the stored thing only is being used. And you see that all of the functions are just maintained like the homeostasis. So that is why they say that when the stores are less and when the balance is less, the absorption is faster.
Any idea of like earlier days we used to cook the greens in the iron-based pots.
No, that is the iron that is there in the container is elemental iron, madam. So that is also absorbable.
So it naturally.
That is why we have in poha and all those things what we make use this iron based this one. So they add to it. Jaggery is one thing, isn't it, madam? They make jaggery in those pans which are basically iron material. So some amount will go into it, and that will add elemental iron.
Is it advisable to leave the cooked items in that same pot? Like nowadays, maybe it is not your topic today, but we get a newer variety.
No, madam. Then another thing is if there are acids in that, then that may convert this also into some other form. Acids are basically they dissolve all these minerals, no, madam.
Teaching.
Leaching.
The conference deficiency in both the anemia and iron deficiency and calcium.
That's what they both are antagonistic, isn't it? So that is why that they say that you should not consume two together. Okay, so two together, it is not advised to consume both these foods together. Milk you take mid morning, then afternoon you take salad.
Yes, next step.
So that's how you have to manage.
Iron.
The way the sequence of eating and then the how combinations, all these things matter. The more you know about this, the complex this will start. So you should be smart enough to eat also properly to maintain good health.
Please, you can do.
Could I understand something? Okay, all the very best to all of you. Do good research with lot of commitment and then with passion, then all your subjects will become interesting. Okay, so you should develop interest in that. Then you'll feel, oh, this is what it is, and then you'll start learning, and then you'll come out with good results. And then your mentors also will be happy. All the very best to all of you. Thank you for your patience hearing. I hope you will carry some message from the talk what we've done. And most of this research, I told you whatever the studies are done by students like you all, my students. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Good evening to one and all present here. It's my privilege to propose a vote of thanks for the guest lecture delivered by Dr. Hemalata Madam, Professor and Head, Department of Food Process Technology, University of Agriculture Sciences, Dharwad. First, I would like to extend our sincere thanks and respect to our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Tamil Nadu Agriculture University, Dr. B. Geeta Lakshmi ma'am, for providing the opportunity, and our Dean School of Postgraduate Studies, Dr. Sendal sir, for making all the externals to deliver guest lectures for the benefit of the students community. I would like to extend our heartfelt thanks to our Dean Community Science College, Dr. S. Kanchana ma'am, who is always guiding us and supporting us in all the activities and all the programs, and always it is an encouraging thing for us, for the staff members by the Dean ma'am. And I would like to extend our heartfelt thanks to Dr. Hemalata ma'am for delivering a lecture on bioavailability of iron from plant foods. So Madam started the lecture from basics, what is a heme ion, what is non-heme ion, what are all the factors that involved in iron absorption, and what is the bioavailability, all the basic things, from basic things till the advanced. Madam has covered the topic in a very nice manner, and it is very easily to understand, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am, for giving the opportunity. And it is my pleasure to thank all the professor and heads and associate professors and professors and PG scholars and undergraduate students. Thank you for attending the meeting, and without the cooperation of students, the program will not be a success one. And finally, I would like to thank our our PG coordinator, Dr. M. Nilamaran sir, for M. Nilamaran sir, for making all the arrangements in a war-putting manner and in a very perfect manner, and for making all the online arrangements. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. I would like to thank our external expert, Dr. Ma'am, Uma Kulkarni ma'am, for making an very all Viva and everything. It was went out very well, ma'am. Thank you so much for your encouragement and your support, ma'am. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you, Anand.